Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's Product Showcase webinar brought to you by Farmer's Edge. My name is Stephanie Crowley, and I'm the Editorial Director of Potatoes in Canada magazine. I'm joined today by Chris Kennard, the Product Marketing Manager with Farmer's Edge. Today, during our session, Chris will explain how imagery taken daily, unique map layers, and automatic crop health change notifications are a driving force in digital agriculture. He'll present case studies from growers who are leveraging digital agriculture technologies to increase the rate of their decision-making and the caliber of their crop production. Thanks to Farmer's Edge for sponsoring our session today. Before we begin, I'd like to let you know that this webinar is being recorded and will be made available to all attendees and registrants approximately 24 hours after our live broadcast. This session is scheduled to run for approximately 60 minutes. Chris will speak for about 45 minutes, and following his presentation, we'll open the floor for questions. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please type them into the Questions tab found on the GoToWebinar panel on your computer screen. Without further ado, I'll let Chris take it away.
All right, thank you, Stephanie, and hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar today. Today, talking about managing potatoes in a digital world. So like Stephanie said, my name is Chris Kennard. I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Farmer's Edge. And I'm happy to be here today discussing what Farmer's Edge has to offer for all growers and potato growers especially. So I wanted to start by giving a brief background about Farmer's Edge. So Farmer's Edge has gone through a significant transformation from where we started. In 2005, we were the first company to bring variable rate technology to farmers in Canada. It started off in a small town in Manitoba, providing independent and unbiased precision agriculture services backed by boots on the ground support. We focused on helping farmers succeed since the very beginning. But as we worked with more farmers and we collected more data from the farm to support those customers in making the best decisions, we became the first company to understand what the power of field-centric information could do and how it would create value for farmers. In a sense, we were big data before big ag data was cool. And then in 2014, we launched our Smart Solutions platform, powered by the largest proprietary field-centric data sets. It was the first and still is the only fully integrated solution that included those boots on the ground, easy to use software, on-farm hardware, powerful data analytics, and sound agronomy into one package. And now Farmer's Edge is a global company providing precision digital solutions designed to give growers everything they need to get value from farm data, manage risks on the farm, and maximize farm profitability as well. So talk a little bit about the differentiators that Farmer's Edge has. Like I mentioned, we do have those real boots on the ground. So we provide hands-on support to help growers adopt to new technology and receive quality support every step of the way. Technology and ag technology is changing very quickly, and we need to make sure that our customers understand what products they have at their fingertips to use and get the most value out of that. Farmer's Edge was founded by two agronomists and was born out of the grassroots passion for agriculture and built from the ground up with a vision to help growers produce more with less. We pride ourselves on being an independent company and secure. The grower and his data is always the sole and exclusive owner of his data. Everything that Farmer's Edge provides is based off of the farmer's permission, and we create tools to help them use their data to make more informed decisions. And to use that data to make more informed decisions, the data needs to be accurate, needs to be valid, reliable, and complete and free from biases. We make sure that's possible by having field by field, zone by zone data collection and automated transfer to make that data safe and secure when viewing within our platform. Another important part is having that data integrated into one complete solution, and that's available in our precision agriculture platform that combines the hardware, the software, the agronomy, and support to address the major variables of crop production, because we know there are a lot of variables at play. And we want to be cutting edge as well, and so keeping the AI driven allows us to leverage advances in machine learning and artificial intelligence. Farmers Edge applies analytics to all data to form predictive models and have valuable insights that lead to better decision making and actions rather than making decisions on just a gut feeling. So we feel we provide access to the industry's most comprehensive set of decision support tools. The digital connection and season-long engagement with growers and dealers and their trusted advisors help make it all possible. So of course, potatoes are a critical crop to many across the world. Managing potato crops can be challenging. We want to be able to manage in season. There are different factors related to irrigation and many critical times for applications as well. We want to utilize the digital tools to provide growers insight on making better decisions. And during the potato season, enhance confidence at harvest for an economically beneficial season. So really, I'm going to run through a few different ways that we collect the data on your farm and how we display that data to help you make those decisions I'm talking about. Because wouldn't it be great or very useful to know how your equipment is performing, what outcomes might come from different management decisions on your farm, what varieties grow best on your farm. Let's look at exact timing of diseases and pests that are attacking your crop, which products perform best in your area, and what can we do to help get the highest yield and the best profits during harvest. So let's run through a few different areas that data collection occurs. First, we'll talk about satellite imagery. So of course, we have a partnership with Planet Scope, which provides us with near daily satellite imagery using, and I'll describe it a little bit later, using for many options, but definitely the crop management and being able to see trends within the crop throughout the growing season. We have in-field weather stations, so as a customer signs on with Farmers Edge, they get access to the entire weather network, which is almost 5,000 weather stations across the world, but they get these stations installed on their land as well. So having a weather station, in the yard or along the road beside some of your fields is a huge advantage, being able to pull up that information rather than relying on public data sets. We also have soil moisture probes that help gauge soil temperature and moisture at 6 different depths within your field. We also provide moisture-based yield prediction from these soil moisture probes as well. Then we have our telematics device, our cam plug, which is installed into every piece of machinery on the farm, helps track operator efficiency, equipment efficiencies. We can look at logistics tracking as well and be able to give you a good overview of what's occurring on the farm and within the machine. Things like fuel level, engine RPM, speed, location are a few different equipment diagnostics that come from the monitoring of the cam plug. And we tie again this all into one platform, and that being Farm Command. And so I'll just show how some of these data collection tools are displayed. So here you can see in the top left corner the 4 different imagery sources that we have. We do have notifications associated with this, NDVI for in-season tracking, and crop health for tracking throughout the season. When we're looking at equipment layers, we also provide applied layers, making sure that what was actually planned to be applied was reviewable in season, elevation maps, equipment maps, and also the report card, a harvest map based on what occurred during the season. And as I mentioned, looking at predictive modeling, we do have growth stage, disease, and pest models for a large group of crops, including potatoes, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a few more slides. And also benchmarking reports. We want to be able to aggregate this data to help farmers make better decisions. And so we do have different reports that look at regional yields and be able to see what other farmers' practices are they using that's making them have higher yields or increasing their return on investment. And of course, as you can see on the right-hand side, we do soil testing as well. And as I mentioned before, that was where Farmers Edge started. We started with the variable rate technology, started with knowing what's going on below the surface in terms of available nutrients in the soil. And that's still a large part of our business. And so being able to use satellite imagery, use these different elevation maps to create a production zone map of what's going on in the field for fertility in season or before season, but then also variable rate crop protection as the season goes on. And as I mentioned, it's all integrated into one platform. So we have the world leading field centric data set, connecting all of this hardware, all of these field sensors, and having them into one platform. And that platform is called Farm Command. We have a website based platform that is for the management side of things, and then also the app for the in-season. We're in the field, we can make scouting observations, we know what's going on within the field, and we can easily access that while we are doing so. With the real-time data visualization and advanced data analytics, we're really trying to give the growers the ability to increase their efficiency and improve that return on investment. We want to make it as easy as possible. We don't want it to be time consuming, and we want to make it as automatic as possible. So through all of these different data collection tools, we want to be able to display it easily for that farmer to make those decisions possible. So I just want to bring forth a little bit of a case study where I'm going to use a few examples to help showcase some of the tools used in real field examples. So if we take, for instance, a 2,000-acre farm in Ontario that grows potatoes, wheat, and corn, we're going to run through a few different examples of where this farm used the Farmers Edge tools to their advantage. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our imagery sources. So we do have our standard imagery sources. Typically, these imagery sources provide a usable image once every 2 weeks. That's the Landsat, which is 30-meter resolution, Sentinel, which is 10-meter resolution, and Rapid Eye, which is 5-meter resolution. What really sets us apart is the daily satellite imagery offering, which provides up to 5 or more usable images a week. And that's the PlanetScope 3.1 meter resolution. We found when we tracked all of the imagery sources in Canada, we were getting about one usable image every 19 days with those standard providers, when we were getting one every other day with the Dove constellation. And really what that Dove constellation is over 200 satellites continuously orbiting the Earth, taking multiple images daily. And we're really putting those within the field border and providing those for you. And a little bit of background on what satellite imagery can provide. We do have the crop health alerts, so that's something that no one else in the industry really provides, is specific field alerts that can help direct scouting rather than having to walk across every acre of the field. If we can use our system to automatically identify where negative changes might be occurring in the field, we can increase efficiency and maybe get better productivity of field scouts. Of course, we're also looking for issues with spray applications, whether it's contamination, drift, or split chemical trials. We're able to monitor that as well. Things like weather event, hail damage, winter kill, we're able to measure these areas with imagery and be able to get maybe faster turnaround with insurance claims. Maybe it's a seeding error, disease, pest, or weed damages. All of these are tracked because the imagery is able to look at crop health, look at the severity of changes within that field, and be able to identify and notify the farmer if any changes have occurred. So again, I'll just mention the 4 different map offerings that we have. So the top one being the NDVI map, purely looking at vegetative growth within the field. A good solid map in the middle of the season is going to be a nice green area, where if there's a nice green field, where if there's areas in the field that are limiting or have a negative effect, we might see them as an orange or a red area. So something that might be important to investigate. The next one down, and our most popular, is our health change map. And this is that notification that is sent to the farmer by either an email notification or a push notification to our app saying, these fields have had a negative or a positive change in the last 14 days. Maybe it's something to go investigate. And then our variation map and our scouting maps. More supplemental tools to help identify those problem areas in the field. We want to improve the scouting accuracy and efficiency, evaluate the effect and outcome of various field operations and applications, and hopefully identify opportunities to maintain or increase our yield potential. These imagery layers aren't meant to replace a field scout, but rather complement the field scout in making him more efficient and hopefully making it a better job as well. So in this example from this case study, imagery showed during the season a lower lying spot that was collecting water continuously throughout the season, but the pivot was applying a flat rate across the field. So we're looking at an area in a potato field where there was irrigation in this example. The rainfall continued in this area where other parts of the field were behind on crop water available in the soil due to varying soil types. The opportunity to identify this issue with imagery that was undetectable in the field until scouted to the specific area provides an opportunity to reduce the rate of water in that low-lying area and apply that variable rate water, reducing the disease risk and hopefully increasing profit potential as well. So when we're looking at in this field where that area might be, it's not necessarily easy to identify, where, as you can see in these crop health images, for the field that was planted east to west, we're actually seeing the patch in orange, but we're also seeing some north to south streaking as well. And that streaking was related to a spray job by a local cooperative where overlap was occurring. And again, in our other maps, we're able to see some of that, and it actually showed variability that was occurring in a sprayer pattern width across the field. So being able to identify some of these areas that might not have been caught by the naked eye or by scouting the field, we can use some of this imagery to dive a little bit deeper, maybe catch something that we might not necessarily been able to find. Because not only is the streaking of interest, but the circular shape, like I mentioned in the northwest corner, is in great interest to the grower. And when scouted by our local field team, it showed to be that lower lying area. The grower is working with our team to develop a variable rate seeding map to avoid this area, and that contributes to that extra disease pressure in these potatoes, and is working with our tech team to outline that area to avoid for harvest. In any way we can help provide feedback or provide more insight, that's a big advantage of having our boots on the ground team. So I want to talk a little bit more about our crop health change detection maps. So the health change maps and notification work as an integrated tool set to help identify those problem areas like I mentioned. So these maps are created automatically. They are generated when a significant or positive or negative change take place in the field across a 2-week period. So when that change is detected, the farmer receives an email notification or that push notification to the app to, whether it's, a disease, pest, whatever the case might be. We want to hopefully identify that area before it becomes too big of a problem. But we do have other notifications as well. Like I did mention, we have rain weather stations installed in the field or in the home yard. Those are measuring, of course, rainfall, and we do send rainfall notifications as well. So an example of these crop health change notifications, one of our growers who is using these notifications, his agronomist went out to check and see what was being identified in this particular example. The plants did not appear to be different than the others in that specific area, as you can see outlined in red. But when he dug up the plants in the alert area, he found the rhizoc. Farmer's Edge processes and analyzes the NDVI images and compares it with each previous day to detect those stresses. And then in this instance, the imagery was able to see the plant stress that was not visible just looking right at the plants. So this is an example of the value that the digital agronomy tools provides to growers. Definitely just one example, and of course, there's many more out there, and hopefully that we're able to identify those and make everybody a bit more efficient in the scouting way. But like I mentioned, it's the other imagery layers that provide a deeper backstory as well. So you can see the scouting map from June 21st or the variation map from June 28th. Those areas are showing up in the other imagery layers, but if we can get that notification, maybe we're going to get into the field that day or two sooner and be able to identify and make a plan to rectify that negative yield potential. So let's talk now a little bit about our predictive models. So again, driven by the field-centric data and sound agronomy, the machine learning and artificial intelligent analytics, Farm Command can use that information to provide the following crop models. We do the crop growth staging, which hopefully eliminates the need to drive to each field to check staging. We want to be able to support timing and requirements of each field operation. If we again can make the field scouts and the applications occur at an efficient timing, we believe return on investment in that case is definitely increased. But along with crop growth staging, we do have disease modeling as well, which can enhance the scouting accuracy and support the spraying decisions. And that's echoes the same for insect modeling. If we can use these models to have a better understanding where the risks lie within the field, we can make better decisions of moving forward. And of course, these models are driven off the in-field weather stations. Without these field-centric weather stations, it would be very hard to predict what stage a particular crop might be at. But because we have a weather station, whether it be a half mile away or 2 miles away, or an area where there's lots of weather stations contributing to the data set for the predictive models, we ensure that each field is showing an accurate representation of what's going on in the field. Now, looking at a weed example here, just to show a little bit more in depth, you can see this is a real example from a real field. We're showing a growth stage. We're showing what date each stage would be at for this particular crop. We're showing risks levels for the disease and pests down at the bottom, and showing what those colors are indicating. So throughout the season, I might know that if I'm a week away from flowering, then I need to get in the field and start looking at, in a weed example, fusarium. But of course, we do have these models for potatoes as well. Now, of course, if the scout is in the field and notices any changes that need to be made, we're able to adjust these models accordingly. These are based off of normal conditions, and if abnormal conditions do arise, we want to be able to adjust accordingly and have the model automatically adjust accordingly for the rest of the season. So there are different parameters in place to ensure accuracy throughout the season, and the in-field weather stations play a large factor in that. Because, and I will mention as well, potatoes are specifically sensitive to disease and insect pressure. Insects can be potato or flea beetles, potato leafhoppers, aphids, wireworms, and even corn borers. Early and late blight can be detrimental to potatoes with other diseases such as common scab, leaf roll, blackleg, fusarium. Our disease and crop models look for those exact field inputs and advanced modeling to give insight onto the next coming problems to be proactive. And I'll mention here another case study. As all fields exhibit different variability, the management of a field can help with the maturity at harvest. As weather conditions can change, it's key to know when a potato crop is ready and if a desiccant should be applied to manage differences in maturity. Whether it's 1 or maybe it's 3 weeks before harvest, desiccation can be used to enhance harvestability of mature potatoes and provide a successful tool for harvest management. So we do offer different options here, whether it be variable rate desiccation, variable rate fungicide, or variable rate fumigant to help manage different variability and different factors within a field. We want to be able to enhance that product production within that field and make for an easy harvest season. So, of course, showing here one of our crop health maps in the later season. The crop itself has dried down significantly compared, to a healthy part of the field, and we know we're getting close to harvest. But it isn't perfectly uniform in the sense that we would have opportunity to spray a desiccant in this area, or maybe it is a different application to make sure that that harvest does run as smooth as possible. Now I just want to talk a little bit about our Moisture Manager offering. The Moisture Manager monitors soil moisture to support that proper irrigation use and fertility application timing. The tool provides moisture-based yield prediction to help growers prepare for harvest and marketing decisions as well. So really, what does that include? It helps us track soil moisture and soil temperature in real time. So our probes are 40 inches deep and include 6 temperature and moisture sensors throughout different depths into the field. We can help manage irrigation timing and application rates, assess if yield is being reduced from water stress, and determine if field operations are possible. So really look at field trafficability as well. So when we're making the installation, we look at soil analysis. So at the time of the installation, our technician will collect soil samples from each soil horizon and really get and send that information to our lab to analyze the texture and moisture. It really helps calibrate the soil moisture values to ensure, again, accuracy in the data that is being viewed by our Moisture Manager customers. We can also look at the crop water balance. So compare actual and forecasted water to demand, precipitation, or irrigation. We want to be able to plan moving ahead if we need to make an irrigation application, or if we're running in a dry field, just knowing what's available and if risks can be taken moving forward to get the most out of the crop. Solar radiation sensor is added to a nearby weather station for improved model accuracy as well. So we know if crop requirements are being met and really viewing the water balance for a specific time period. So the different reports that we're able to display here, looking at past information throughout the season. So as long as these probes or weather stations have been installed, being able to look back at what occurred during the season, when did we see peaks in rainfall and availability in the soil, but also looking at current conditions. What is the current soil temperature, current soil moisture? If it's very critical to plant at the correct soil temperature, we're able to track that information as well and look at forecast conditions. So being able to gauge what's coming ahead as well. Interpretation of the soil moisture results, trying to make sure it's easily understandable and provide recommendations from regional experts too. So working alongside the customers who use the Moisture Manager to make sure they're getting as much value out of that information as possible. So the next example I'll show here, one of the most difficult decisions to make for producers during the growing season is when to start the irrigation season. If we start by the date, do we know the profile is empty or full or even half full? If we start when our neighbor starts, do we have the same soil, the tillage, hybrid? We're going to have different operational occurrences than our neighbor. So at Farmer's Edge, we believe that each decision starts with having solid, field-centric, agronomically based information to make decisions on the impact our decisions and make those decisions with confidence. We want to utilize this large network of on-farm weather stations to ensure weather is up to date, accurate, and pertinent to each field. When making an irrigation decision and knowing what has happened and what is to come, and that's being confident in the forecast to ensure if we are able to hold off for 2 extra days when an inch and a half of rain is coming, we're able to do so. But then on top of the weather data collection and forecasting, we put that weather data to work on the on-farm and like I mentioned, the growth stage and disease and pest models. We know that as crops grow, different stages require more or less water. By understanding the accurate stage of each crop, tied with an accurate forecast, making those decisions on when to replenish that water is easier to make, and it really becomes much simpler. So on top of these parameters, soil moisture probes are used to get an accurate depiction of crop root growth, the water usage, and soil water that is active in our profile, really giving us a simple gauge of where we are full and where and when we need to refill. And by tying these data sets together, producers can really feel confident in turning on or leaving off an irrigation system when others might be doing the opposite. In the case of potatoes, irrigation at the right soil condition stage and profitability, at the right stage, really increases profitability timing and is really critical for our success. So as you can see on the screen here, this is an example of what we might show for a moisture manager customer. We are showing the different depths, whether it's temperature or moisture, the peaks when an irrigation or rainfall event did occur, and at what depths is that moisture being taken up by a root system. So I just want to switch gears a little bit and talk more about our variable rate technology. So we do provide a turnkey variable rate technology program that is zone-based, measurable, and includes agronomic and technical support to help optimize the inputs across every acre. We work closely with growers to develop an advanced agronomic plan, matching productivity zones to yield targets and requirements to deliver the best results, whether it be that higher profitability, higher yields, less lodging, more even maturity across the field, optimizing those inputs and improving improving the harvest conditions. So talk a little bit about our zone-based sampling program. We derive our zone maps from imagery and historical reports to identify areas of varying productivity in the fields. So we take into account the different imagery sources from multiple years. We take into account historical yield maps if we have access to them, and elevation reports as well. We combine an actual soil testing with virtual soil testing, which is a time-saving technology that combines the current weather data and historical crop information and yield environmental data to predict nutrient levels in the field. So for a variable rate customer that's working with Farmers Edge, typically we work on a 4-year basis. So year one, we're going to soil sample every acre on the farm. We're going to get that good benchmark of nutrients available on the farm. And then from year 2 to 4, we're going to do more site-specific areas in the field for the actual soil test and filling in the gaps with the virtual soil test. Now, of course, if we see that confidence is lacking in some areas, we're going to head in and we're going to do an actual soil test of every acre again. So making sure we're getting a good representation of what's occurring underneath the soil to really provide the best recommendation possible. And we work closely with our growers and their trusted advisors, really their partners, to develop an advanced plan matching whether it's zone or grid derived productivity areas to yield targets and product requirements. These variable rate prescriptions are available for seeding, fertilizer, fungicide, desiccation, really any crop protection, and our tech specialists visit the farm and prepare the equipment to ensure that data is being logged and that we're going to make that application correctly. So as I mentioned before, it's good to have a plan to make sure we have a plan to make that application, but we want to know that what was actually planned was applied, and our techs help make sure that the equipment is going to collect the data properly, and that the variable rate prescriptions, as we call them, are installed into the different machines properly as well. So in this example, we're looking at variable rate seeding of potatoes based on field conditions, nutrient availability, and potato variety. And this really can all be analyzed in addition to fertility for a field. Varying populations can enhance potential in good areas and manage stress for crop in poor areas. Some areas may be best to avoid during planting, as depressions or its low-lying areas can contribute to that disease pressure or contaminate loads at harvest. And this is really a look exactly at an as-applied map as it was done within the field. So you can see some of that variability. You can see the chart on the right-hand side showing the green, the dark green being the higher rates, and the red being some of those lower rates. Because potatoes like deep, well-drained soils that are not compacted, with lower pH than other row crops, maybe that 5.5 to 6.5 range. And testing is critical, as well as the method of application, the use of the potato, the growing season, and the same with any crop, really, the choice of variety. Too much N can delay the potato in the maturity cycle, and potassium that is really high can slow down magnesium uptake and make the potato soft and damaged during harvest. So at Farmer's Edge, they're building that profitable production zones is key to understanding field variability when it comes to that nutrient management, because fields can be sampled for fertility and analyzed for matching production of potatoes for the opportunity of the best profit possible. And again, we're looking at an example of that here, where you can see on the right-hand side the application, the different legends showing those application rates. So definitely a useful tool, and something that a lot of our customers take advantage of in terms of knowing what's going on below the surface and in the soil for nutrients, and being able to make a plan and make that application efficiently. So a little bit of different value propositions. Of course, I talked a lot about all of this throughout the presentation, but we'll just summarize a little bit here. A lot of what sets us apart from other ag platforms or precision ag platforms is that integration, being able to have all of those different data collection tools, providing that into one location and making it as easy as possible to interpret and make as easy and as science-based decisions off of that as possible, and really, removing that gut instinct and having confidence in the decisions that you're making. We're always going to provide support to new customers and to long-standing customers. As I mentioned, things are always changing, and that's just how technology operates. We want to make sure that everybody is up to date and using the products to the highest value that they can receive. And at the end of the day, we do provide return on investment analytics as well. Make sure that the decisions that you're making, the money that you're spending throughout the farm is affecting you positively, and you're getting a positive return on investment. So really getting that report card of what occurred throughout the growing season. And also, we do have a special offer that I'm excited to mention. For signing on and listening today, we're going to give you $1 off if you sign up with Farmer's Edge. So sign up and be a part of Farmer's Edge on one of our digital solutions, and we'd give you $1 off an acre for listening and joining us today. So really happy to be here and discussing what Farmer's Edge can offer to potato growers and really any commodity growers within the ag industry. So yeah, definitely, we'll give the opportunity now to maybe answer some questions, and we can go from there.
Great, thanks so much, Chris. Yeah, we'll begin with our question and answer period now. One of the things that you mentioned a couple of times is the boots on the ground support that Farmers Edge provides. So can you elaborate on what that means for one of your customers?
Yeah, definitely. So, we do have a large team. We have agronomists, techs, and customer success managers that really help with the relationship from start to finish. And it's not just during the spring season or the growing season, it's throughout the winter months as well. We want to make sure, like I mentioned many times, that our customers are comfortable with the platform that they're using. We want to make sure that they're getting the most out of every tool and making it as easy as possible. So not only do we have the boots on the ground support, whether it be the agronomists for agronomy support, being the techs for equipment or rate controller or yield monitor support, or the client success managers for the everyday support. We also offer webinars weekly to train on individual topics each week, and we provide different opportunities to help the customers stay engaged and make sure they're getting the most out of everything that Farmers Edge has to offer.
Okay, great. We've had a question come in here from our audience. Someone is wondering what the price per acre is for potatoes.
For sure. So we have a few different offerings here, and I'll just go back to this slide just so you can see the name of them. We have the Smart Nutrient and Smart VR. So what we call our Smart solution, that's a $4 product that. And then we have our Smart Nutrient and Smart VR, which are fertility products. The Smart VR is a $6 product. So that these smart opportunities give weather stations, satellite imagery, the growth stage models, the telematics devices, basically the full package are within these different offerings. And of course, if you were to sign up today, you'd get that $1 off as well. Or sign up from viewing this, you'd get that $1 off as well.
Okay, great. Another question here. Is Farmers Edge the sole provider of the high resolution PlanetScope imagery?
Yeah, so the Dove PlanetScope imagery is an exclusive offer for Farmers Edge. We are one of the only companies in the ag industry that does offer that PlanetScope imagery. I believe there's maybe a few grandfathered in from a previous partnership, but really what sets our imagery offerings apart is our own designed algorithms that help us identify those good and bad areas in the field, but then also our crop health change notifications. We provide an automated resource to potentially see where those negative or positive changes are occurring in the field. And if we can help make the farmer a bit more efficient, or whether it's a partner that the farmer works with, maybe it's a retailer that does agronomy work for a farmer, giving them access and making sure that we're getting the most efficient scouting as possible. So, yes, we are the only one providing those notifications and specific algorithms within that imagery.
Okay, great, thanks. Next question. If I sign up with Farmers Edge, are the weather stations installed on my farm?
Yeah, so it's definitely farm size specific. If you have more acres, you definitely get access to or get more weather stations installed on your farm, but you get access to the entire network. Now, I'm actually a farmer myself. I'm a customer of Farmers Edge myself. I've been a customer for 10 years. We have 2 weather stations installed on our land, but because the area that I live in, there's some neighbors and some surrounding farmers that have Farmers Edge as well. We have about 10 or 20 weather stations in our area that contribute and allow us to view those current conditions. So yes, you do get the weather stations installed directly on your land. It's at no extra cost to you. The maintenance, the upkeep of these weather stations is all on Farmers Edge's hands, and so we take care of all of that trouble as well.
Okay, great. I think this will be our last question today, unless there are any others. If you do have any more questions, please feel free to type them in the question box. Otherwise, the next question here is, can you explain the crop health change imagery layer and the notifications again, please?
Yeah, for sure. So because, and I'll do a little bit of background maybe. When satellite imagery first came out, it really wasn't frequent enough, right? If we saw a useful image come into the system, is quite often it was a week or 2 weeks old, and that's too old to really make a decision in the field that's going to maybe spot something to rectify that yield potential. And now with daily satellite imagery, there's so much imagery to go through that we wanted to make it a little bit easier to identify those problem areas. And so that's why we created the crop health change maps. So every time a new piece of imagery comes into Farm Command, the platform, our system automatically compares that image to every image in the past 14 days and will automatically identify those either negative or positive areas in the field. It'll outline those areas as you saw outlined in blue with maybe a negative alert with red in the middle, and it's going to send that email notification or that push notification to the phone and say, you know, this field has a negative notification. Click on that notification. It'll pull up the map. It'll show you, and then you can maybe head to this field and scout that area. So again, trying to make that process as automated as possible, and then notify the farmer if something did occur within the field.
Great, thanks so much. This concludes our question and answer period, and therefore concludes the webinar today. So I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to today's product showcase webinar, and thank you, Chris, for your presentation. Please don't forget to visit potatoesincanada.com to view all of our previously recorded webinars, and watch for the recording of this broadcast to arrive in your inbox within about 24 hours. If you do have any further questions for Chris or the Farmers Edge team, please reach out to us and we will do our best to get those answered for you. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day.
Yep, thanks everyone for joining.